Hello and welcome to all of our listening viewers. I'm Fiona Lang-Sharp, IBCLC and Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Well, welcome into all of our listeners today. We are sitting down with Karen Lasby. She is going to be our fabulous keynote presenter here at Gold Neonatal 2019. I can't wait to chat with her just in a moment here. But of course, first of all, I do want to remind our folks listening in that all of our keynotes here at Gold Learning are open access and free. So you're going to have an opportunity to come in and listen to Karen live on June 24th, okay? So mark it on your calendars right now. Website is super easy as well. You just go to goldneonatal.com. Now, if you can't come on that day, that's just going to work out just fine for you. Let me tell you, you'll be able to go onto the website, register your place for that day, but you'll also be able to listen to the recording. So if you can't come live, if you can't come and see us on that day, then of course you can still listen to the recording. So that's going to be fabulous as well. Okay, well, let's bring in Karen right now and give her a warm welcome. So welcome to Gold Neonatal Conference 2019. Karen, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be part of this.
Yeah, we are too, and I know you are a very busy person. I know that you've been traveling around and doing all sorts of things, and but why don't you start off, why don't you just briefly introduce yourself to our listening audience today, perhaps tell them where you are in the world and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis right now.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Hello, everybody. My name's Karen, and I am from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and well, when I'm working, I am busy driving around the lovely city of Calgary, managing my team of neonatal nurses who work in the community. We call ourselves the Neonatal Transition Team. We are the team for the last 20 years who have been following very low birth weight babies who've been discharged from the NICU through that in 2 to 3, 4 months sometimes time frame after the NICU. So we are in a very unique position in Calgary to have that 20 years of experience under our belt, and I am delighted to be able to share with you some of our common findings that are happening post NICU.
Well, I tell you, while I'm listening to you, Karen, I'm sort of shaking my head in sort of amazement. I'm saying, wow, 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 because this does seem so unique and so important. I mean, you and I think we're on the same page here when I say, like, it's so important that there is that continuity of care. And, of course, you have probably seen challenges where there isn't, but you're in this privileged position where you follow up with these little neonates. Now, of course, I was a parent who had a child in the NICU, but also importantly, I see many of my clients who struggle when they have to transition out of the NICU. And so can you tell me, how did this all come about originally? Because 20 years, Karen, this seems like it's been going on like for some time.
Absolutely. And where it really came from is my experience as a neonatal nurse in the NICU, and back in the day, in the cave days, we used to do primary care nursing, which meant that a nurse was able to specialize with one client, one neonate, one family, almost every time that nurse went to work. And so I had that opportunity several times, and I remember saying goodbye to these families, and I am professionally and personally excited. They're going home finally. I'm celebrating,
Right.
and I'm full of happiness and good cheer, and I am looking in the eyes of the family, the mom and the dad, and I see joy, yes, but I also see fear and that stress. And one mom described to me leaving the NICU, she said she could physically feel those tethers of support from that multidisciplinary, helpful NICU team. And as she's leaving the NICU, because Dad's warming up the car and he's out front, she felt she was almost feeling panicky, that she thought, I don't know if I can do this. And so I thought, there's got to be something out there. Public health nurses, bless them, they are generalists. They know so much information about so many broad topics, but when it comes to the needs of the special, very low birth weight babies who remain vulnerable fragile feeders after the NICU discharge and their families, there's got to be more that we can do. And so we need to match the needs with the care that's out in the community. So that's where the impetus came from.
Yeah. Right, right. And you know, it's true. I've seen that fear, that worry. I can still to this day remember that
Yes.
anxiety of bringing my little person home. And you really do get used to being in a facility. And although, you know, even being a mum prior to having my child bringing him home, it's what you get to know, that institution type of feel. And of course, you've got people there 24/7 caring for you and your baby. So coming out of there, of course there's a transition, and sometimes there is a stability issue for the child within the home as well. And so those things must have become very important to you as well than just following through, because it's not just a case of, you know, dropping someone off in their home and saying, okay, I'll come and pat you on the back. There's some real care elements that you're teaching as well. Is that correct, Karen?
Absolutely. These babies are not yet full term. They're not yet out of the woods yet. There's still some issues. They have issues with feeding. They have issues with spitting up and reflux, and they're not quite comfortable yet.
Right.
And all of those things, to just abandon neonates and their families at the NICU door, it just seems unfair to me. And to put that load on
Right.
parents to say, well, is this normal? I don't have a team to ask anymore. So,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
and NICU nurses, they have said to me, and I've experienced this myself, I'm really wondering how baby so-and-so and their family are doing post-discharge. How are they
Gotcha.
managing? Because they were feeding okay at the time of discharge, but did they fail? Did they succeed? You know, and so the NICU nurses, they want to know what's commonly happening out there, because then that will impact how they prepare families. That
Right.
I remember, you know, a family, the baby had zero feeding problems, zero, and went home and everyone thought the baby was going to do fantastic, and found out that the baby was readmitted 3 days later for failing to eat. So what happened
Wow.
there is this family was not given the strategies of the most common problem post-discharge. It's related to feeding. And because the baby was doing
Right.
great, the baby was a superstar, they called him, you know, and they said he has no feeding problems. He gets out on the other side, and then he just kind of fell down. And so we need to, if we're aware of all of the common challenges post-discharge, then we can pack the backpack of our families and say, I know this isn't an issue right now, but in case it happens, here are 4 strategies that I want you to keep in your backpack and pull them out if the need arises.
Right. And and as you're talking, I'm thinking that so we've got all sorts of elements that we've got the psychological elements of the parents, the psychological elements of the
Mm.
infant, right? Because that transition home can be it can change things for the infant as well, the behaviors, and then all the physiological things that happen when you take an infant out of the only generally the only environment they've ever known since they were born, and put them into a home environment. And sometimes there's oxygen changes. Like I'm just thinking through like all of these things. It must be incredible, some of the work and training that happens as you
Yeah,
transition.
we expect a lot of our babies to go from the environment they've been in for 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 4 months, maybe more, to go home where it's dark at night, it's quiet at night, and there
Yeah.
aren't any monitors, and rounds doesn't happen at 10 a.m., and so they don't have that background noise, and it
Yeah.
smells different, the lighting is different, the heat is different, and is it any wonder that these babies are disrupted and a little bit chaotic when they first
Totally.
go home? So how do parents manage that,
Yeah.
you know, when they've been seeing their baby
Exactly.
on a routine in the NICU, to go from there is no routine and how do we cope with this? So it is challenging. And you also raised the parent psychological stability. That is really, really important. We don't, most of the families, I'll say, that of most of the families that I follow do not recognize, they know they've gone through stress, but they don't recognize the
Right.
emotional toll that that took until they get home. And often it's when their baby's
Right.
doing fantastic and their baby is growing well and developing well and everybody's happy with the baby that the parents look in the mirror and say, what have we been through? And that
Right.
whole
Yeah, that
distress. Yep.
reflection piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and it's traumatic for a lot of families. It's very traumatic, and that's real, and that takes time to unravel. But I can just
Yeah.
imagine it's when everything suddenly goes quiet and everything's actually going
Yep.
okay
Yep.
that you can sit back and
Yes.
reflect, right? You sit back and
Yeah.
reflect. Just amazing. Wow. Well, I honestly can't wait to hear some more, and I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about what you've been doing recently because I want you to have like this little brag moment because I feel like we're so lucky to have you here at Gold because you have been so busy. But tell our folks who are listening in, where have you been recently and what were you doing?
Well, I've been, starting, I should say, for the last 2 years, I have been on a journey to complete a passion project for myself. I have learned so much from the babies and the families that I have worked with that I have written a book for families called Preemie Care, A Guide to Navigating the First Year with Your Premature Baby. It is a resource for parents, but also for NICU staff when they want to know what happens post-discharge. So I have published my first book, my first baby, and I've been on a journey through just as April this year. It's hot off the press, and I've been on a journey. I went to Toronto for our book launch to the Canadian Association of Neonatal Nurses conference, and I've also been international. I just got back from New Zealand, where we launched our book internationally and had a resounding success there. Carol Kenner, who is the President CEO of the International Council of Neonatal Nurses, wrote the foreword to our book, and she was there to give us a pat on the back, and we were there presenting 2 of our research studies. So yeah, it's been a busy couple
Wow.
years.
Well, and I think a well-deserved recognition of the work and the effort that you have put in. You've put your time in, Karen, and it's a blessing to have you be part of our community, our intimate small community. And I have to just tell everyone and remind everyone that I actually live in Alberta, so I mean Karen is local to me, which is so special. But the fact that you're reaching those internationally now around the world is fabulous, and that's why we're so excited to have you here because you're going to be able to share this with the greater world here at our Gold family. So that's going to be absolutely fantastic. Well, Karen, it's just been a delight chatting with you. It's going to be fabulous on the day. It's going to be June 24th, right? So everyone's going to be here. I want everyone to check in on their calendar. So thank you so much for joining us here today, Karen. It's been great having you.
Thank you very much. I look forward to the information or the opportunity to share. I don't want to keep this information.
Yeah.
I want to share it nationally and internationally. So please join in. Happy to chat with you.
Excellent, excellent. And as Karen said, she'll be here ready to share. Now, remember, if you do come live, some of the perks of joining us here live at Gold is that you'll be able to interact with Karen on the day. That's right. Karen's actually going to be here presenting for 75 minutes. So block it off on your calendars, but then we will have a live Q&A with her as well. She'll also actually be doing it twice on that day. So if you think that you might not be able to come because of timing, check out. There's going to be 2 time slots she's going to be with us. So you can double up on that day and come and join in with us as well. So like I mentioned at the top of this interview, we do have our Gold Neonatal site. It's easy to join there too, goldneonatal.com. Also, don't forget you can join us actually on June 3rd for our opening keynote with Dr. Nicholas Embleton as well. He's going to be here. That's also a free and open access. Registration, of course, is open for the full conference, and we'll look forward to seeing so many of you join us once again for this fabulous conference. Well, thank you so much again to Karen Lasby for sitting down with us here today, and of course to all of you listening in. It's been great hosting with you again. Talk to you all again. Bye-bye for now.